Me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am so delighted to have my next guest. I have Queen Key here, and she's going to tell us all things trucking. We'll be able to hear more about what that is here shortly. But before we get into this very interesting interview, I want to give her the mic, so to speak, so she can introduce herself.
Oh, thank you so much, America's Supermom girl. I think that we are all super. Yes. My name,
Amen.
for those of you who don't know me, is Lakeisha Martin. But the name that you see below is Queen Key. Queen Key is my CB handle. And for those who don't know what a CB handle is, it is how we identify ourselves as over the road truck drivers on those old time CBs that you used to hear the truckers talking on when you were a little bitty kid, maybe in your daddy's pickup. So I go by the name of Queen Key on the radio, and that's how they know me. And if you ever heard me on the radio over the road, it would sound a little something like this. Break, break, 1-9. That's right. It's me, Queen Key. Queenkee. Because that he was so nice. My mama done it twice. Come on back and holla at your girl. I'm all things trucking. I'm a trucker's advocate. I've been in the trucking industry for over 26 plus years. I'm a master trainer, which means I'm actually trained to train the trainers. And I am a driver advocate with a branding called Truckers Life, helping highway heroes. So I'm here to bring recognition, visibility, and celebration to the hidden highway heroes, which I know to be over the road truck drivers.
Love it. Girl, you said a mouthful. There's so many things that we could dive into with that. One of the things that I want to go back to is the CB, the culture of being able to communicate and have that camaraderie when it comes to kind of, a subculture within a culture. It's different when you're on that CB talking to people. So, what advice would you give people about building that community, having that bridge to communicate to one another, such as what you've designed with your industry with trucking?
How it works with trucking is that when people realize that they want to come into trucking, it's not just a profession, it's an actual lifestyle change. Your life changes completely. You join an entire community of people who live differently than the rest of the world. When you wake up and you go to your job from 9 to 5, you're at work too. The truckers are at work, but nobody knows we're working. The stuff just magically shows up in the Walmart on the shelf. You don't think that a truck driver had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to meet the dock by 4 o'clock for you to get the toilet paper, right? So while we're actually out here working in the work field, you have a time when you get up, you clock in, you clock out, when your breaks are, when your lunches is. We don't do that. So we have to have a proper mindset that we actually work in a rolling 24. So our hours are always rolling 24 to 24 to 24. We never really have an off day until we're home. Most people don't know that most truck drivers only sleep in their own bed a maximum of maybe 15 days out of an entire year. So you're sleeping in the bunk more than you're sleeping in your own bed. So you develop a culture of communication out there. We have our own language. We have our own forms of communication. We have our own ways of communicating with one another when we get to truck stops. We have to take showers and clean ourselves over the road. So it's an entire culture. So in order for us to survive, we have to be like a little family where one helps the other. And that communication comes from the fact that we all know that we all are living in the same culture, and other people in the outside world don't know what that's like until they step into the actual truck or see what our lifestyle is. It's like a whole different world. Like right now, you say, when you see a car on the road, we don't call them cars, we call them four-wheelers. Why? Because they have
Mm,
4 wheels. We have 18, they have four, right? So
that's
they're
so cute.
four-wheelers. So like it's different things like that. So we call it the big road. That means the highway. So we have our own language. We have our own way of communicating with one another. That's why I say break 1-9. Break 1-9 on the CB radio means that channel 19, which is the chatter channel that all truckers know in a time of an emergency or time to talk to one another, all the truckers will be on channel 19. So that's what break 1-9 means. So if you get a CB radio in your RV, go to channel 1-9 and you'll be able to hear what the truckers. And if you don't have a CB radio and you're sitting in traffic and all the truckers are in the same lane, hey, get in that lane because we know which empty lane's coming ahead because we're talking to each other.
I love that. I love that. So this is great. Now, so you've got your brand of trucker life. So
Trucker's
talk to
life.
us about trucker's life. What does that all encompass right now with your book and things that you have? Talk to us about that.
Trucker's Life is a branding that I came up with because I believe that we were the forgotten frontline workers during COVID, but I've always thought that we were never appreciated by the people that we serve, as well as sacrificial to the industry that we serve. So when people say things like, okay, essential workers, truck drivers didn't get hazardous pay for
Mm.
COVID. Truck drivers didn't get those clapping of the pots at 6 o'clock every night. Truck drivers didn't even really get mentioned in the essential workers pot. We weren't allowed to go home. We had to keep the country moving. If we were caught by the contact tracers, we had to go home and isolate for 14 days straight. We didn't get paid for that. So you go home without pay. Also, we looked at the fact that even now, where they put things in line as to who got the vaccine first, truck drivers were not at on the top of the list. We were like fifth behind everyone else. And we were the only ones. And for the first 2 months when COVID first hit, truck drivers were on the road delivering freight on time, keeping the country going. And we were literally starving. We couldn't get anything to eat. The supermarkets were closed down to essential workers only. The inside of restaurants were closed down, so we couldn't walk in. Only thing that was working, even in our truck stops, we couldn't walk in and sit down and have a meal. The drive-throughs were open, but our big trucks didn't fit through the drive-through. The policy of the drive-through was that people weren't allowed to walk up, so we couldn't even walk up to the window and order something to eat. So we would have to pay someone that was in a car, if we were lucky, to grab us a burger. So for 2 full months before someone even knew it, truck drivers were starving. But you still got toilet paper, you still got sanitized wipes, you still got everything because we kept the country going, starving or not, because that's our job and that's what we do. So I developed Trucker's Life as a way to celebrate what I call the highway heroes, because we are heroes. We're invisible to the people we serve and unappreciated. When was the last time you woke up and said, I got toothpaste, I got toilet paper, I put my shoes on today, thank a truck driver? Never. Some people never think about truck drivers their entire life, but without us, there would be nothing for you for your life to exist, right? So I
Wow.
decided that I was going to do Trucker's Life, which was um, helping highway heroes in every aspect of their life. You understand that every aspect of us to be able to shine in the logistics industry. So that sets several different lanes. I help the truck drivers. I have a book out called The Her Method, and it stands for Heed, Execute, and Respond. And what it is a safety guide for over-the-road truck drivers on how to be safe from the predators who actually prey on us while we're trying to do our jobs. They
Mm.
prey on us to steal the freight. They prey on us to attack us, for the women to rape us, to hurt us, because we're unaware that we should be aware that there are predators that stop at rest areas intentionally to catch you unaware, to assault you. So my book basically is a guideline to teach you about how to be aware and how to practice these safety tools that you can do every single day to where they become habit, to where you're in the safest, like parking under the lights closest to the building, doing your pre-trip inspection out in the opens where people can see you, never parking with your nose in so that you're not in a blind spot and things of that sort that you may not think that you need to do, but the predators know you need to do it, so they prey on you. So that's what the book is about. I'm also about the fact that truck drivers are set up for a failure when it comes to us being able to provide our job. Because did you know that 75% of all truck drivers are considered obese or overweight?
Wow.
And truck driving is also one of the jobs that requires you every 2 years to pass a physical, which includes what? Your weight, your BMI, your blood pressure, whether you have diabetes. And we know that all of these comorbidities can be predicated by the fact that we are obese or overweight. But yet, when we stop to eat and go to sleep in truck stops where our trucks can fill, only thing that are really in these truck stops are fast food restaurants that are contributing to our obesity. So what
Wow.
I do is I teach truck drivers on how to be in a state of ketosis, which is the healthiest state for a truck driver because it increases our natural energy, so we don't have to drink monster drinks anymore. It increases our natural sleep, which we don't get much of because we're always moving around and not very good, useful sleep. And it causes us to burn fat, which decreases our weight, which decreases our chances of having these comorbidities. And I do that with teaching them about the ketosis lifestyle. So I just help truck drivers in every aspect of the way to be able to succeed in the logistics industry and to be able to be appreciated by the country and by the industry that we serve.
I love that. I mean, that is just really true. I mean, you bring up so many good points that we often don't even consider, when
Mhm.
it comes to the importance of the transportation that you provide in terms of making
Yeah.
sure that we get the goods and services that we need to have in order for this company to, this country to
Yes.
function as it does. So,
Right.
what was it that really got you into trucking? You're a female, and I just look at a lot of men being in this industry. You know what I mean? It's not like I know a lot of friends that say, "Hey, I want to be a truck driver," even though I'm used to it, seeing that industry. Whether
Right.
I'm another person on the road or remembering as a kid when they would ride through the neighborhood, we'd be doing this for them to blow their horn.
Right.
But what was it that really got you into this field?
Okay, well, for me, my name is Queen Kee for a reason, but I'm all things trucking, right? So when we were little, you remember when you were little and people would be like, girl, what you want to be when you grow up? Like I had a bunch of friends, and one friend said, I want to be a model. Girl, I want to be on TV. I want to be an actress. I never really wanted to be any of those things. Like, because it never really fit into me. I never could see myself being a model. Maybe because I was the fat girl of the crew, right? So I could never see myself walking down and I never had any positive memories that were surrounded around those type of things, models, TV, things of that sort. That didn't glamorize me. The most beautiful memories I remember as a child growing up was working on my granddaddy's farm. I learned how to shift gears when I was about 8 years old, driving an old tractor on my granddaddy's farm, and it was just part of my chores. And the tractors didn't work automatic back then. You had to learn how to shift gears. There were two different shifters, that for high and for low, for reverse, things of that sort. So at the age of 8, if I'm going out to help, in the cornfields or in the cucumber field or whatever, I had to be able to drive the equipment, and it was stick shift. So I learned how to shift between the ages of 8 and 10. My father owned a tow truck company, and with a tow truck company, basically you towed trucks, you towed cars, and sometimes it would be like broken down the road. So I learned very early how to change a tire, how to change a serpentine belt, how to change my own oil, and how to drive the tow truck, which was also a shifter. And so my fondest memories was me just riding with my dad and my granddad in this broken down tow truck with a CB radio, listening to them talk to all the truckers on the radio. So I was actually physically, don't tell nobody, but I was actually driving over the road in a big truck delivering freight at the age of 14 or 15. So during back then when we had split logging, where you could drive for 5 hours and then sleep for one and drive for 5 hours, my
Mhm.
granddad would get over in the jump seat, or my dad, and be like, all right, your turn. And I'm like 15. I'm like, I hope the captain will save her. But most of the time, so I've been driving truck before I was legally allowed to. So when I turned into
Wow.
my 20s, I went and I actually got my actual physical CDL license, and I've been a driver ever since. I've been on year 3, I think, or 4, I became an actual trainer of drivers. And by year 8, I was designated a master trainer, where I was then at that point training trainers. So I've been trucking since I was a little girl, and that's pretty much all I ever wanted to do. When I came into the trucking industry, only 2% of drivers were women. So you
Mhm.
kind of got the culture of one or the other. It was one extreme or the other. It was either,
Mhm.
oh my God, they treated me like I was porcelain. That's somebody's daughter, that's somebody's mom, somebody's grandmom. Wait a minute, let me move this out the way so you can back into the hole, because I don't want, and they just treated me like I was just porcelain. And then you got the
Right.
other side of the spectrum of, why ain't you barefoot and pregnant? What you out here doing a man's job for there, hunty? You need to be home, let your husband work. So you either got one or the other when I first started. And so when I
Mhm.
became a master trainer, where 90% of our industry was men, 90% of my trainees were men as well. So it became very difficult to be a leader of men. So I had to find my leadership in that.
Mm. That's amazing. So, what would you say are some ways that we can train men that we kind of don't recognize? Because a lot of times, let's just say a teacher. You could be teaching them anything and training them. What have you noticed about that genre that you think is different based
What
on
I've
the sex of a person?
what I've learned is that for all men, even in my genre, and this is why I have a mentoring program called Yes, She Can. And it's a
Mhm.
mentoring program that I fund, that I have like 2 clients right now. One of my clients is she is the leader of all female big truck mechanical. So it's a mechanical engineer. So she has mechanics and she trains women to work on big trucks. And then I also have another client who is the leader or captain of a 45 man firefighting company that goes and puts out the big fires in California when the brush fires come out. So she has all men under her and she's the captain of that. So
Mhm.
what I've learned that no matter what industry you're in, first of all, it's already hard enough to be a leader as it is. But to lead men in the corporate world is one thing, and to lead men in what we call, the blue collar world, which is our world, trucking, mechanics, firefighting, it's different because it's a what men consider a roll up your sleeves, get dirty kind of job. And so what can a woman teach me about rolling up my sleeves and getting dirty? And what I've learned is that the higher you go in a male dominated industry that's blue collar, the more vitriol you get from the people who you're trying to train. So what I've learned on how to become a leader of men and teach others to do so is that women are led by their heart, their yellow, their emotions. We want to be helpful. We want to help people. Men
Mhm.
are led by their ego and their ability to provide the answer. So if I have the answer and he doesn't know the answer, he feels inadequate. So how can I be trained by someone? I'm supposed to be the leader in this situation because it's a male ego. So how I train men
Mhm.
in that situation and how I train other women to train men in that situation is to allow their ego to teach them to listen. So how I
Mhm.
do that in any given situation, in other words, like if I'm training a guy to put it into a hole and he doesn't
Mhm.
want to understand the way that my systems work for everyone, male, female, or whatever, of how to back into a dock. And
Mhm.
he's doing it every which way except for the way that I told him to do it. Then what I
Mhm.
would do is I would say, okay, how do you think we should do it? And I'd let him come up with a theory and I'd let him figure out that his way was better than mine. And then I
Mhm.
would get my lawn chair and I would sit there until the dock workers would be ready in about 2 hours. And I'd let him continue to attempt to try it his way. And then every now and then I was like, wow, man, your system's really working. But you know what? It would be awesome if you would just, do this little part right here with that. Oh, man, you got it. And before you know it, I've changed all four of his steps to all four of my steps. And he thought of
Mm.
it. And so now he knows how to park.
I
So,
love that. I
so I
love
lead with
that.
I lead with ego when it comes to men.
Yeah, now so give us another example about how we can adopt this, even as a mom, as a wife, in terms of dealing with relationships like that. What are some of the key things that you think that we can remember when it comes to navigating through that space?
Especially with children, because I was a foster mom of my own of over
Mhm.
15 children,
Mhm.
and I adopted five. What I realize is that children are people. They're just
Mhm.
little people.
Mhm.
So when I was smaller, when my grandmother came up in her generation, before her generation, it was like children should be seen and not heard. I
Mhm.
didn't raise my children that way, especially my man child's children,
Mhm. Mhm.
because their egos work different from a female child's children. But
Mhm.
all children are people. And I noticed that even when you're dealing with children and when you're dealing with people that you're training, the most thing of all things that's the most important is that they want to be heard. Everyone just wants to be heard. So if you say the mom and you're like, I said clean the dishes, and the kid's like, but why? And your answer is because I'm the mom and I said so.
Mhm.
Okay, they're going to do it because they love and respect you because they're supposed to, but they still really don't understand why they're doing the dishes.
Mhm.
And I notice that as human and as people, if we understand why you're requesting what you're requesting from me, we're more willing to
Mhm.
comply with what you're asking. So, in a
Mhm.
sense, where I would say to my kid, okay, you're washing the dishes on Tuesday, you're washing the dishes on Thursday. And he's like, well, why do I always get Thursday? There's a reason why he doesn't want to, not that he doesn't want to do dishes, there's a reason why he doesn't want to do them on Thursday. But if I never
Mm.
ask him why, well, why do you have a problem with doing the dishes on Thursday? Because that's the extra day that I have to do my book reports that are due on Friday. And it just takes so much time to do it.
Mhm.
But if I never asked him why, I would just think that he was being rebellious and didn't just want to do his dishes. So, oh, that's the day that DJ has to turn reports on Friday. So since Steven, you don't have reports on Friday, I'll let DJ go on Tuesday and you go on Thursday. And now that resolves the
Mhm.
problem. He doesn't have a resentment towards me because number one, I heard him out. So I got to understand,
Mm.
even when they did something wrong, I would always say like
Mhm.
this, listen, you can plead your case. Now, what
Mhm.
I'm going to do with regard to consequences, because there's always consequences to your action, is going to
Mhm.
be yes, no, or indifferent. You may sway me,
Mhm.
you may not,
Mhm.
but I'm going
Mhm.
to give you the opportunity to explain to me why you feel you shouldn't be punished in this situation. Because even when they do get punished, they still feel better inside because at least I got to say my part.
Right.
And
I
so
love
that's
that.
usually
Now,
how I do it.
and that's good. And I think, how do we as women let go of our ego in this situation? Because that sounds good. But, in the heat of the moment, especially when you're dealing with the male
Yes.
confrontation,
Yes.
even though they're people, we see them as many men, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we avoid that power struggle for ourselves? Do you have to
Uh-oh.
just breathe, count? What is it that you got going on?
Well,
This is
what I would
sounding
do with
good.
my children, because I took that was my specialty, children, boys in need between the ages of 7 and 14, because I
Mm.
felt that between that age they were the most impressionable, where you could change their thought process from being unlearned of the bad habits, right? So between 7 and 14, they were influenceable. That's what
Mhm.
we felt and what we did. So I approach my man children age appropriately.
Mm.
And how I do that is I break them up in age categories. So if they're between the ages of 5 and say 9, they're still in that I want to be accepted. I love my mommy. I want to do everything for her. I'm in love with my mom. They're in love.
Mhm.
We are their first girlfriend. So I
Mhm.
use that discipline with them when they don't want to do things. I use the whole, but mommy loves you so much. And I know that you don't want to disappoint the fact that I've taught you these things. People are going to think I am a bad mother. So you use that in the ages between 5 and 8 because they want to please you. You're their mom. They
I
love you.
see.
Between the ages of 10 and 12 or 13-ish, it's
Mhm.
I'm not a baby anymore. So they
Mhm.
go above and beyond to try to show that they're grown, but they're really
Right.
not. And
Right.
in our eyes, they're always going to be a baby. My son turned
Right.
27 yesterday. He's still my baby, right?
Right.
So, but to them, it's like, I'm not a baby. I can do it myself. So they
Mhm.
want to show independence between that age of 13. So when I deal
Mhm.
with that ego, it's usually like, you know what? I taught you these skills and I know that you know the correct way to apply these skills. And I know that when I leave out this room, it's going to be done exactly the way I taught you because you don't need me to stand over and help you the way Tyler does because Tyler's a baby,
Mm.
right? And he's like, see, because I know what I'm doing because I'm grown. I can do it. So now they want to please you like, oh yeah, I'm a big boy. I can do this the right
Mhm.
way, like my mom taught me. So then between
Right.
the ages of 14 and I say 18 and above, it's to the point of guilt. I use the guilt against them to where it's like, okay, I might not be with you, but don't let the news beat you home. Right? Because the whole thing they're
Mm.
thinking is, what's going to happen if somebody tells my mom before I tell my mom?
Right.
And oh my God, if I don't get to her first, the wrath, Jesus. Right? So
Mhm.
they want to tell you everything up front. See what happened, right, Mom? When we went over Brad's house, it wasn't even my fault though. Cause see what happened. What had happened, son? But that encourages him to tell me first. All of my kids
Right.
first, they told me first. They told me
Mhm.
first before they lost their virginities. They told me first
Mm.
before they wanted to drink alcohol. They told me
Mhm.
first before all these things because mom gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna tell the truth. What do you know talking to your friends about sex? He's 16 just like you. He don't know
Mhm.
Nan. If you want the truth, he like, I know who got the answer. So I had a
Mhm.
pact with my boys between the ages of 12 and 18. If you ever got in that situation where you was too drunk, to this, whatever, it was a bad situation, and everybody in your little clique said, man, we're gonna get jacked up. I don't know who to call. You know who to call.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna call my mom. Y'all can come if y'all
Mhm.
want, but I know who to call because we had a deal that as long as you
Right.
called me, I don't care what it was. I was gonna come, I was gonna pick you up, you were gonna be safe, you were gonna be home. We didn't even have to talk about it for 24 hours.
Right.
And when 24 hours got home and we were safe and we were calm and I didn't want to kill you right then in that moment, Okay. And you didn't want to try to make up a whole bunch of lies. You have time to think about it. And you weren't in jail and you weren't in a fight and somebody didn't try
Right.
to kill you and some girl didn't say you tried to rape her. Get home. I don't care.
Mhm.
I'm going to call you. As long as you ain't trying to kill a child or me, ain't nothing you can do that we can't work out at home. So if they're to the point where they're like, I can't call my mom, well, I can call mine. And so I
Right.
had that, and I only had to use it twice out of all my 7 boys.
Mhm.
And but I used it, and they used it. So that trust there was like, I'm going to call my mother. I'm going to get us out of this situation. So that was the pact I had with my boys between the ages of 13 and 21.
I love that. And I love the fact that you say, it is something that you had to build and trust had to be
Mm-hmm.
embedded in your lifestyle. What do you think that we as just people in general, with our businesses, with our home life, relationships, what do we do that helps us to build on that principle of trust? What are we doing wrong now? Especially now as we have had all this time to kind of take a pause, think about what's important, go back to our core values. How can we start implementing more of that in our daily routine?
I think the main thing that was lost and how trust gets lost is because we don't give ourselves grace.
Mm.
We don't give ourselves grace to make mistakes. We don't. So
Mhm.
therefore, if we don't give ourselves grace, we don't give the people we love grace either. So
Mm.
we're very quick to judge and very slow to forgive, and to
Mm.
realize that we have to give ourselves grace in any given situation. And so if we're giving ourselves grace, we have to give that grace to another person as well. Because I always say that I never strive for perfection. I never
Mhm.
strive for perfection because you're ultimately setting yourself up for failure because it will never be an attainable goal. So I
Right.
strive to be the best person I can be every day.
Mhm.
And I never look at another person to be me in any situation. So you hear many people say, okay, girl, but if that was me, I wouldn't have did you like that. Well, they're not you.
Exactly. Now that is good right there. I mean, because I know a lot of us fall into that, and I tell that to my kids. You have to give people the space to be them, and when
Mm-hmm.
they show you who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
Don't take on their story and yours. I mean, you can't
Mm-hmm.
do it because you don't know what's going on with them.
That's
So
right.
I love that you bring that up. That's good. I can't believe it. We have made it towards the end of this interview. This has just been wonderful. But what is the best way for everybody to get a copy of your book?
Oh, okay. This is what the book cover looks like. I don't know if you can
Okay.
see it. Ugh,
Yeah, a little bit.
a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's called The Her Method. It's written by
Okay.
Lakeisha Martin. That's spelled Lakeee. ShaMartin. And it is available now for pre sale on Amazon.com. You can get it for 99 cents up until the 25th of April. So, what you will get is you will get a pre sale. And if you have Amazon, it will automatically be downloaded onto your Kindle when the content goes live on April the 30th. So, pre sales right now for 99 cents. And that is the ebook PDF version. The regular PDF version, the soft copy and hard copy will be available on April the 30th, also on Amazon.com. And it's called The Her Method, spelled the H period E period R period method. Her stands for heed, execute, and respond, so that you know how to prevent predators and attackers when you're out traveling, out and about. And it's not just for truck drivers, for anyone traveling. I have chapters that deal with our RV community. If you're traveling in a car, if you're staying at national parks, hotels, and things of that sort. So all of them are safety precautions. So, and you can follow my podcast called Trucker's Life. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your podcasts down. It's spelled TruckersLyfe. Trucker's Life,
Mhm.
helping highway heroes. I also have that on Instagram, same thing, Trucker's Life. And on Facebook, I am Lakeisha Martin. If you're looking for my regular Instagram, it's Real, REAL Queen Kee. Real Queen Kee or
Mm.
Trucker's Life. And that's how you can contact Queen.
Love it. I love it. And I'm so glad that we got connected on Clubhouse. I would like to
Yeah.
put that plug there because I'm always meeting all these wonderful guests. The past, I don't know, the last 30, 60 days, everybody, for the most part, has been from Clubhouse. So, what final words would you like to share with the audience today?
Oh yeah, so I did want to say I do have a club on Clubhouse called Truckers Life as well. Um, what I wanted to share finally is that, we get so tied up into our own lives that we don't take the time to think about the people that make our lives possible. And I'm not saying that in a way. I've been guilty of it my whole life. Like, I don't wake up in the morning and call the electric company and say, thanks so much, the lights are working today. Right? So we're all guilty of it. So I'm not here to point the fingers at the people who don't understand the things that we go through as truck drivers on the road. I am here to make truck drivers visible, to let them know that I appreciate them and celebrate them. But I'm here to make it aware to the average four-wheeler out there. Be kind to a trucker. Like, we're not purposely trying to cut you off in the lane. There are certain rules we can't follow. Did you know we can't go into that third lane over there? We'll get $1,000 fine. So we can't just let you in. You understand? So we're not just being that a-hole that you think we are. Don't cut a trucker off. It takes me 2 full football fields to stop.
Right.
2 full football fields. And your car versus truck. Truck wins. We'll crush you like a soda can. Not on purpose, but because we couldn't stop. So just be mindful of those small things. And just, if you have a chance, thank a trucker today.
Love that. Love that. This has been so informative, and I'm looking forward to you coming back because we just didn't even get into all the topics that we wanted to get into. So we definitely will have another episode. This has just been wonderful. So I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your insight. You have really opened my eyes, and I'm sure many of the viewers that are watching today are just like, wow, I never knew that. This is something new. So it's been very informative. So anybody watching, reach out to Queen Kee. She is definitely a great person to talk to about some of these trucking issues, getting you out of your own head about things, and just the strength to be a female with such clarity in a male dominated industry. To
Yes.
me, I think it's inspirational all by itself. Okay.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. We'll be sure that she gets those so we can answer them. And thank you so much again, Queen Kee, for coming today.
You're so welcome. Look for me on the big road. That's
On the big road.
QEENKEE. That E was so nice. My mama done it twice.
Love that. Love that. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.